All right, hello and welcome everybody. I have for you today a review of the book A Spell for Chameleon, which is the first book in the Xanth series by Piers Anthony. It was recommended to me by a friend of mine, Justin Frazier, author of The Good Guy and The Rackin', as well as a couple other books. And he recommended it to me not because it's like some kind of huge epic masterpiece, but because it has some fun fantasy ideas in it, as well as kind of an interesting plot twist near the end that is kind of interesting. So, over the last week, I went through the book, and yeah, it's kind of got, generally speaking, it's kind of got the young adult to kind of older end of young adult fantasy kind of feel to it for the most part. What I will say about the ideas in it is that there are a couple of really cool big ideas, right? I'm not going to elaborate on them too much, but I'll just say that for a fantasy setting, there's a couple of pretty cool, top level ideas that go into this book that make it very satisfying from a fantasy perspective. But the real place where this book shines, and it might shine only for some people, so watch out about this, is that there's like a million little ideas in this book that are all, very creative, very interesting, and a lot of fun. Just to kind of give you, for example, in the world of Xanth, every creature has some kind of magic or is made of magic or something like that. And so Anthony puts together a veritable menagerie of different types of animals and plants and things like that, all of them with some little magical twinge to them that makes them interesting and fun. Now, me personally, I like puns. I enjoy wordplay. There are a lot of people who don't like puns and don't like wordplay, and if you are one of those people, you'll probably find this more annoying than interesting. But whether you like it or not, it is definitely true that there are a lot of really cool small ideas, as well as some interesting big ones that make up this world, and that was enjoyable to go through. The tone of the book, generally speaking, is kind of playful and storybooky, with a lot of, like I said before, wordplay, a lot of, and wordplay, puns, that kind of stuff can be a double-edged sword. But I enjoyed it more than I found it annoying, and the wordplay never kind of verges into that baby talk regime that got me so angry with Dragonwing. There's a lot of novelty in this book because there's so many small ideas peppered throughout it that there's always something novel to be reading. And I mean novel isn't new. The plot proceeds with kind of a comfortable, consistent pace. There's always some journey going on. There's always some development happening. There's never any amazingly long lulls where things are really, really slow. At the same time, there's never a point where it's so amazingly action-packed that I'm gripping the seat of my chair kind of thing. There's constant exposure to new things in this book, new characters, new places, new creatures, new ideas. It kind of has one of those simple but satisfying plots. Basically, your typical hero's journey kind of thing. Main character, is in danger of being exiled, goes on the quest to ensure that he doesn't get exiled. Complications occur, fun happens, action happens, adventure happens. More characters are met, interesting characters are found, a little bit of philosophy here and there. And again, the really cool fantasy ideas, both big and small. And that's kind of where the book goes. The descriptions in the book are kind of nice. They're generally speaking, they're detailed. They're funny. There's a lot of humor in the book, and the description of things are like kind of like blunt or frank. It's kind of it's very out there in the sense that it's not hiding anything from you. At least it's not hiding anything from you that the characters that you're dealing with don't already know. The funny thing about the tone and the vocabulary of this book is that it seems like it's a fairly young person book, but then there are parts of the book where there are some adult situations. There's stuff like that, and the way I described it, I wrote a short review for this over on Goodreads, and the way I kind of described it was like this. Um, they're certainly they're mild. There's nothing too crazy in the book or anything like that. Nothing you would really blanch at. But there definitely are a lot of adult situations, and like the way I described it is, it's kind of like what some teenage boys might think about, but hopefully have enough good sense to not say out loud, kind of things. Um, so there's a little bit of that, which does, in my mind, bump it up to kind of a higher young adult. And the difference between the general tone and the adult situations tone is a bit of a negative, in the sense that there's a discrepancy between who would really be comfortable with the vocabulary and tone in the 95% of the book, and then there's that other 5% where you're like, well, maybe I'll wait until little Jimmy's a couple of years older before I give him this book. Um, Again, it's nothing bad, but it's very frank, and very, unfiltered. I'll say that there's only a few main characters. Like, we're gonna kind of number in like the 4 to 5, 6-ish range, kind of in that, main characters. There's also a decent number of side characters. They're all interesting and varied, and they have backstories, and Anthony kind of feeds you little bits of the backstory here and there, where it's relevant and where it's important and where it's interesting, in such a way that it feels natural and comfortable. Exposition in this book is fairly well done. And what I'll also say is that the dialogue in the book is actually pretty good, because you get a lot of dialogue between these 3 main characters, the main character and 2 of his companions, and they all talk very differently, which is a really nice touch. You don't you notice it right out that the other characters, other than the main character, the narrator kind of is sounds a lot like the main character, but the other 2, their dialogue is very different, and those different voices, those different tones, is a really nice, solid touch to the way that this book feels when you read it. It makes it a lot more enjoyable, because character A may have opinion X of something, and then character B will walk in and give opinion Y, and the opinion is completely different, and sounds completely different too. It uses different words, different kind of level of vocabulary, things like that, which makes the story more interesting when dialogue comes around. What I'll say is that there's a lot of variation between the different main characters, how they think, and how they react to different situations, and of course that creates a lot of the conflict in the book, and I'll say it's pretty well done. I was never quite sure, whether certain characters could be trusted or not, or whether they were putting on an act or what. And this was even made clear in the book, that where there's basically an extended truce that happens between certain characters that it doesn't get thrown away immediately when someone complains about somebody else. It's actually handled very well. All in all, I'd say it's kind of an entertaining read if you don't have a strong dislike for puns. If you do have a strong dislike for puns, you're going to want to step back. If you want really, really elevated dialogue and narration, you're going to find it a little bit childish at times. But the thing about this book is that, like, even though I wouldn't say it's like this grand epic masterpiece that I love like crazy, I would say that it's probably going to be something that I come back to every once in a while, just for the fact that it has so many neat little fantasy ideas in it that are kind of like a popcorn of tiny ideas that I feel like it'd be worth looking at them if I felt writer's blocky at some point, if I was writing fantasy. There's just a lot of really neat little points that Anthony puts into the book that make it very fun to read, and make it good for a reread, in the sense that you might want to look at it to see, just to kind of let that sheer wave of cute little novel ideas wash over you. I'd say I'm moderately motivated to check out the next book in the series, but I'm not like in a hurry. So when I put a review up on Goodreads, I gave it 3 stars. I like it. I don't think it's like some kind of crazy masterpiece, but I did enjoy it. Definitely a lot more on the positive than on the negative. There's definitely some people that are going to be turned off by the tone or the puns. But other than that, it's a very solid story and a very solid introduction to this fantasy world that has, a bajillion books by Anthony about it. So yeah, once again, A Spell for Chameleon, the first book in the Xanth series by Piers Anthony. Definitely a positive review, definitely a few caveats, but yeah, if you don't hate puns, check it out. That's all I've got. Yeah. That's all I've got for you. So yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Now I'm really going to go check out the Lensman series because I do want to read those. I hear they're shorter too, so hopefully I'll be able to go through a couple of those and give you guys kind of a little idea of what those are, because they're old. They're 1950s, I think. This book is 1977, I believe. So, kind of doing a bit of back and forth where I go to old books and then new books, and do reviews of each, just to kind of get myself accustomed to doing regular reviews and videos and stuff like that. So, definitely worth checking out unless you hate puns. The tone might get to you a little bit here and there, and if you are going to give this to a kid, give it a look through before you do that, in case you don't want to expose little Jimmy to certain types of imagery, all in words, of course, but certain types of mental imagery early on. Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you all later.